plus 3 extra JPs. Justice Nelson is not feeling well, I understand, and I wish and pray the best for him. The press is here. We've got 2 elected officials here, and 1 JP-elect. Glad to have you, Toby. Toby, if you've got questions as we go through this, don't hesitate to ask. I mean, you need to learn this just, you know, as bad as anybody. So.
Thank you.
Instead of sitting over there looking cute.
The sheriff said he was planning to be here, but he's at a funeral.
Okay. Guys, what I passed out to everybody is what Kelly has been able to put together for us so far. We got 1 revenue budget that she emailed out, and then we have 5 expenditure budgets. We don't have any of the big ones yet, but we need to get a start and get the process moving and get our elected officials on notice that, yes, we have started and we need your budgets as soon as possible. And looking at, she's got prosecuting attorney on top, so let's just go ahead and look at the prosecuting attorney. And Kelly, you want to explain the columns if you don't mind, and then I'll kind of go into that 21 deal a little more, that last column. So tell us what you got here.
Okay, so across the top, the column headings, you've got the first 2 columns that are going to be history. Those are actual full year numbers that was spent out of those line items. And then the next column, the third column, actual dollars through August 31st of this year. And then the next column is the revised budget, and that's for 2020. So that may not be what we started with, but that is the revised. So any account that has been changed through appropriation, that's updated in that column. And then the last 2 columns are the requests for 2021.
All right, so on that last 2021, notice it says 2021 with raise. We got our JSIP report. Everybody got a copy or should have gotten a copy. If you haven't, we'll get you a copy. And we weren't in quite as good a shape as I was hoping we would be, and I think one of those reasons goes back to last year, and we did not give a raise. And bonuses don't reflect in JSIP. We did give a bonus, you know, last year, but we didn't do a raise last year. And there's no, you know, this committee and in this court, this committee will make the recommendation and this court will make the decision about what we want to do this year. But this is going to be a major issue with us that we need to be looking at in all of these budgets. Do we give a raise or not? Now, I don't think, and we thought the same last year, but I don't think we can afford to do both a raise and a bonus. I just don't think the county can afford that sustainably. So the fact that bonuses do become part of the employee's compensation for the year, they don't reflect in the salary numbers in the JSIP plan and how we stack against the other entities. I think we need to get the JSIP plan in here in one of these meetings and kind of look at and see exactly where we're at. Maybe in our next meeting before we get too deep. So when Kelly and I talked the other day about her putting this together, I asked her if she had just put in a raise of $1,000 per employee, full-time employee, and $2,000 for the elected officials, just to give us a snapshot of what raises would look like. Now, when you think about $1,000 on the salary, that also increases the other extraneous, the retirements, the insurance, and that type of stuff. So we've got a little over 200 employees. $1,000 would be between $200,000 and $250,000 cost to the county, $1,000 and $2,000. So just round up and call it $250,000. 3% is going to be really close to the same thing. There's usually very little difference between that and a 3% raise. So I'm not saying that this is what we're doing because I'm just one guy. But it gives us a place to start and talk and kind of look at what it would cost us and how it would impact our overall numbers and budget. So what you see on that 2021 with raise, correct me, Kelly, that's what we did, didn't it? $1,000 per full-time employee, $2,000 for the 8 elected officials. Now, percent raises, and we hash this every year, but percent raises, 3% across the board, that's fair in one sense of the word, and it is fair. But you take a $20,000 employee who's at the bottom of the payroll list, and 3% is only a $600 raise, and you compare that to a $40,000 employee, and 3% is a $1,200 raise. Now, we have very few $40,000 employees, but we have a sluice of them in that $20,000 to $30,000 raise. And across the board raises tends to help the lower paid employees much better than a percentage raise, and yet not cost the county anymore. So if you look at our elected officials, you take most of the elected officials are in the 65,000 range, and the 3% to them would be around a little over 2,000, just a slightly better. But if we give them a $2,000 across the board raise, we really haven't hurt them. They're getting the same as if they got a percentage raise, pretty much. Just a pitch, just a thought, just for y'all to start thinking the process of how we would like to do it. I think we need to give some kind of raise, and the employees truly like the bonuses because it helps at Christmas. But it sets us back. Every year we give a bonus and not a raise. It sets us back in our just comparison and our overall standing. And the only reason that we got started in bonuses to begin with is when we could not afford to give raises. You go back 10 years, we saved the hospitals, we were broke. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't give raises, we couldn't give bonuses, we couldn't do anything. And as we slowly dug our way out of the hole, we got to where we could give small bonuses and give them something just to let them know we were still thinking about them. And then that became a trend for a few years, and it's been really hard to break. They get accustomed to bonuses. And then the last year that Terry Brassfield was our county judge, we ended up had a pretty good year, and we gave both. We gave both a raise and a bonus. Then Terry was gone, and last year was Judge Nelson's first year, and we backed up and we only gave a bonus.
No, we didn't give didn't we? I thought we gave a raise to the people that were in the bottom 2 quadrants to make, or in the bottom, we moved them up to the.
I don't think we give a few of them, 11 of them.
There was
more.
there was a small amount that were either under minimum or right there at the very lowest, and those were raised up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we thought we had everybody, at least in the second, is that right, Kelly?
It was, I think we for sure got everybody out of under minimum. And I don't know for sure if it was everybody that was in the first quartile. I don't know if we moved all of them to the second or
We didn't.
not all of them.
There were some that were still there, but they were closer to the second quartile
Yes,
than those that were completely out of it.
But without giving a raise, they never move any further up. And actually, in fact, will slide down because other comparative entities will be given raises.
We also have to take the insurance into consideration.
You have to take
We haven't heard anything on that yet, have we, on the insurance?
Justice Nelson, you talking about 2019s or this coming years?
This coming years.
Not that I'm aware of. Kelly is.
We've been told that there's a rate hold on life and vision. And so they're pricing and shopping for the others right now.
Because that's, we can't get that more than, is it 60 or 90 days prior to?
I'm not sure about that.
Because I think last year we didn't get it until October, and that was the earliest we could get it.
Yeah, October is about normal for.
I think it was the latter October, so I think it may be closer to 60 days before.
Mhm.
Well, I'm hoping that our loss ratio is going to be less because of the people that moved over to Medicare.
Mhm.
And that should help us on our loss ratio, so
Well, that should
hopefully.
help us, but COVID is not gonna help
Well,
anybody on
that's
insurance.
probably true too.
From what I've been seeing and hearing, they're expecting everybody to get rate increase.
Well, since we're on the subject of the
Okay.
Jessup, I just want to ask the question, I'm not advocating, but I do want to ask the question to settle in my mind. Are we ever going to be to the point where we're going to consider freezing anybody at the top?
Now, what do you,
We have some people who are above the maximum.
oh,
We have a few. Are we ever going to consider freezing those people until it evens out more? And I'm just asking.
I don't know. Hadn't thought about it.
You know,
But it is yeah, I know.
The gap always widens. It's never going to close
Mhm.
unless you freeze on the upper.
you know, we talked about this last year with the Jason, you know, and it was made, somebody made the comment that, you know, we keep giving raises, it just keeps forcing higher. Well, it really doesn't. The other counties that give raises, what moves it up.
Right.
It doesn't, if we don't change ours, it's not gonna, the only thing we're gonna do is drop lower and lower in the Jessup. You know, we'll move people who are in that first quartile completely out of the Jessup if we're not looking at some kind of raise. And I understand they want a bonus, but
Now, I'm not been
Truly-
approached by anybody, but these last several years of experience, I know
I know,
how they feel.
if we don't look at raises instead of a bonus, we are going to continue to go down this road where we're battling to get people into, we'd like to get them in that mid quartile, you know, instead of having people in the first and out of it. And Neil has a point. If you don't look at freezing those people that are above maximum, how are you gonna ever?
We got 2 or 3, 4,
Yeah,
something.
there's not many.
Well, my point when I mentioned the insurance was that, I don't think last year when we looked at the Jessup, I don't know that we're comparing apples to apples on the insurance. I mean, we're paying 100% of insurance, whereas most people won't do, most people don't do that. I mean, you have to take that's a big deal.
It is a big deal, very big deal.
I mean, that's a huge part, that's a huge benefit, especially to what you're talking about, like to the the $30,000 employee. And that's a tremendous benefit.
And can we ask, when they do a Jessup report, can they tell us, well, but they don't tell us who they're comparing to?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Can we find out who is paying their employees' insurance and what percentage of their insurance they're paying? Because to me, she's right, that does make a big difference.
But it's almost $1,000 a month in our case.
Well, and so you think about a $20,000 employee, and I'm just using that number randomly, is really a $32,000 employee.
No, actually, by the time you get through with retirement and everything, they're almost $35,000 to $40,000 employee.
Kelly, do you know, can we put like an insurance parameter into that Jessup request? I mean, we've just gotten one, so I don't know, I've never,
I just thought you meant call around and see what others are doing.
Well, that's fine. I mean, just so long as we've got something to compare it with.
But I can ask about, putting it actually as an incentive in the report too, but I don't know. He's never asked for that information, so. I
It
don't
may
know if
not
he
be
considered
something
it.
that they track, but what I'm looking at is if it's something that they track, we would at least know how we're comparing. Because if, let's say their employees are getting $10,000 a year more, but they have to pay for their insurance, we're dead equal,
That's right.
but
you're right.
we don't know.
How long, do we have to sleep on this before we make a decision?
We try to pass the budget in our regular monthly meeting in November. There are the occasional years where we just don't get it together in time, and we pass it in the regular monthly meeting in December. So the very, very latest would be mid-December. preferably by mid-November. So, we're in the last,
Okay, it is a lot to think about,
we're in the last of September.
a whole lot to think about.
So we got approximately 6 weeks, approximately 6 weeks.
You know, for this year, if we wanted to know those figures, if we know who they're compared to, and I'm not.
It's in the
I'm not
It's-
print.
yeah,
putting
it's
this on
there.
Kelly because she's got an insurance part, delegate.
I want to think there was like 12 entities. that
Well,
they-
and they're not all counties,
No, there's some cities
and there's
and
even some private business
a
in
couple of
there.
private
Yeah.
businesses, yeah.
You know, we could ask them for it. Yeah, I know the city of Longville pays all of ours, but, you know, municipal league is a whole lot less than what we're paying.
Well, this is exactly what I wanted to do, was start discussion, you know, and get everybody to looking and thinking and asking your questions like this. That would definitely be something that we'd need to consider. And then your point with the insurance at a comparative basis. But we've got to start, so that's where we're headed here.
And you know, listening to the employees, I know a lot of them out here, they would prefer the bonus, but they're not looking at the whole picture. It entails.
No, I mean, I've been on both ends of that also, bonus and raise and such. Now, I completely understand where they're coming from, but if we can get them accustomed to the fact that we're not giving bonuses, it's kind of like a Christmas club for them. If you know, the bank Christmas club, and they just need to initiate one of those on their own. Now, it's a difficult thing to do, but rather than depend on the county to play Christmas club for them.
And the truth of the matter is, most of the time when we've given bonus, we've given full-time 1,200 a year.
And we could do that this time. I just was asking Kelly for a start.
You know, I think 1,000 is a good place to start. It'll eventually, most places are doing a 3%, and eventually, if you continue to do 1,000 on those $20,000 a year employees, you will advance them into at least the second quartile, slowly but surely.
You know, a couple of years ago, we gave 1,500 as a raise. I mean, 1,000 was just a starting point, and we can adjust that, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to have Kelly changing this every week. It works her to death.
Well, it's so hard because she has enough to do now.
I'm not, and I
And
wasn't
these are with the
advocating that.
3% over here?
No, that's $1,000 across the board,
Oh, okay.
and the 2,000 for the elected official.
I wasn't advocating.
Simply a
that.
start.
Just pointing out that, you know, normally when we give a bonus, we give 1,200. Well, if they're getting 1,000 every year, we're gonna change that quartile for them. And then, like I said, we need to look at insurance. And it needs to be factored in, show them, you know, if you worked here, you'd be paying 50% of your insurance. If you worked here, you'd be paying 75% of your insurance. But you're making this amount and you're paying for your insurance, it's comparative to these folks. They may actually be in that second quartile if you look at it.
Well, yeah, because like, if you think about it, even on that, I mean, like, if you had a $20,000 employee and it cost you 12, I mean, that's roughly another 10, I mean, that's, what is that, a third of their salary? I mean, that's a huge, 30% more, and that's a humongous jump.
It is.
I mean, it's not a,
You don't want to give them a raise and then take it to pay their insurance.
Right.
That's what
no,
we're-
well, and that's what I'm
we're
saying, I mean, but you can't negate that fact, because a lot of people in that, I don't know, we talk about affordable health care, but a lot of people in that salary range, that would not be affordable health care for what we pay, what our insurance premiums are, so that's a tricky.
Hey Peggy, Beverly, the financial management girls, all three of them are under you, and I could ask Kelly this, but you're the top of the top. Kelly's just the top. And doesn't Beverly take care of the insurance?
Leslie does now.
Leslie does now. Okay, you all, okay. I guess my question is, can we get one of the girls, and she's just busy. I mean, I've got her working to death on this kind of stuff. how would you feel about somebody calling some of these entities that are listed in Jessup and just asking the simple question, how are they paying their insurance? What percentages are they paying? You know, is it 100% or is it 50%? Or get us some kind of idea on some, and you go through and pick, you've looked at the Jessup, I know, haven't you?
No, I haven't really.
Made a liar out of me.
But I can.
Well, would you and Kelly both look at it and then pick out some of the top entities? Don't have to call all 12, but let's call at least 6.
Okay.
And see how they're doing their employee insurance programs. And maybe that would give us some feedback and idea. What do you think, Justice Jackson?
No, I agree, I definitely agree. I think we should.
And I'm just trying not to overload Kelly. I mean, everything we want to do, we always ask Kelly, ask Kelly, ask Kelly. And I'm not ignoring you, Kelly, but.
I'm not complaining.
But do you think it would be fair to ask one of them to maybe help us out just a little bit?
Yes.
And if you want to call all 12, I don't care, but let's try to call at least 6.
There's really 2 questions.
Two
How much
questions.
are you paying for insurance per employee? And what percentage of that are you paying what percentage of that does the employee pay?
Did you hear that, Peggy? Because that's relevant.
What percentage does the employee pay?
How much are they paying? And then what percentage of that does the employee pay?
Okay.
Because they may not be paying, they may not have as good as a program as we've got. I don't know if it's possible. They may have a better program than we've got. You know, their program may only cost $500, where ours is $1,000, but then somebody else's program may cost $1,500.
But then if they're only paying $500 and their employees are paying 100%, that's,
That would help us in this comparison and see where we're at.
Okay.
That gets us a start, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, that's a big hill right there.
And at the same time, maybe we can identify how many people that we have in that overmax category.
There's not many, but there are some.
I can think of a couple, yeah.
And it's not, I mean, I don't even know who they are. I've looked at it, I don't even know who they are, but I know we made an adjustment to bring everyone up, trying to get everyone to the second
At least to the
percentile.
second quartile.
Well, if you're gonna look at the bottom end, you kinda need to look at the top end too, because if you don't, the gap just keeps widening.
That's correct.
So you have to kinda adjust from both sides if the goal is to get everybody
Mhm.
to the middle.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's where we'd like to be, you know, have everybody crowded in that second and third quartile, just going right along that midpoint line. We'll try to do that in our next meeting. All right, so with that said and looking now, we've got 5 expenditures and 1 revenue budget to look at. The first 4 of these are pretty simple. Prosecuting attorney, that's the top of the list that Kelly had for y'all. You know, there's very little to no difference, $600, $550. Between 2018 and all the way back to 2018 and the 2021 request. They didn't really ask for anything, did they, Kelly?
They wanted to basically carry over from 2021. The only change that I made was under the secretary salary reimbursement. It's the last line item that's in the personal services section.
Yeah, 1510.
Yeah, that is what we pay to Craighead County. And this, I guess when we did the 2020 budget, we were using numbers for 2019, but they notified us in January of this year that it had changed a little bit. So I just went ahead and it's $56. But that was the only change I made, and we may be notified in January of 2021 that it's going to be different. They kind of wait until later, and we're usually already done before we know. But besides that, that's and then, the raise, the $1,000 raise. There's just 1 employee in that section, so.
I didn't see anything out of line on that.
No, I'm just trying to think, who's the 1 employee?
Sarah Ramsey. She's the victims of crimes coordinator for Curtis Walker's office.
Okay.
Do you remember getting, I meant to ask you this earlier, but I think the finance committee may have received it, but we received something from AAC that was just kind of an update, an FYI type thing for public defenders and prosecuting attorneys. I think it was from Mr. Eddie Jones. And I sent it out to you guys just for FYI for budget purposes. You know, because there were some questions last year, I think, about some of that. But anyway, if you want it, I can resend it. It just talks about the law and what counties are responsible for. And
You did send that.
I think I did.
I don't remember the details of it, but I do remember you sending it and reading it. I'll go back and pull that up.
Yeah,
look
if you
at
need
that.
it.
Kind of pretty straightforward. Any questions when they're carrying them straight across like that? Let's look at the Veterans Office. Actually, it's lowered. Kelly, where are we at there?
Well, this is one department that you're going to see the insurance decrease because he decided to not stay on the group health plan and go to the HRA account. And so that's the big difference, where our insurance costs $10,460 a year per employee. His is $4,806.
So that's one of the
Wow.
savings, yeah.
Okay.
And we
So-
did that with over 20 employees.
No, that's it. I mean, yeah, thanks. Deal with us. It's what we promise it works.
But he asked me to just carry everything else over. So-
And we pay, and we pay their, the supplement, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the
That's
court
all
approved up to
$460.
$400 a month,
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Most of them are a little bit less, I think.
Mine's 330,
Mine's
Think
in
it
that same range.
drug card and supplement.
Yeah.
We have either 2 or 3 that are at that 400, but everybody else is below.
And there's not been any issues with that, has there?
No, I
It
mean,
doesn't get any better than that.
the other,
That's what my mother says.
the only thing I have heard is great. You know, they're all extremely happy.
I'm very
Okay.
pleased. I was one of those that moved over.
Well,
I will eventually change, you just have to drag me into it. Okay, guys, no questions there. Cooperative Extension is a very simple budget. This is on a match basis. We get what we pay for in terms of agents. $120,000 to the U of A gets us 4 agents here in the county. It evens out about $30,000 an agent. It's where it averages out. That's not exactly correct, but basically that's what it averages out to. Then we moved them. They were in the
That's
house
right.
that we tore down there on the block with the county courthouse. And, I wondered about that when Judge Nelson first brought that up. And now then I'm really glad we did. With what we're gonna have there, I think we're gonna have a real showplace there when this is all said and done. With Justice Jackson and her committee, helping ride herd.
Yeah.
I think we're really gonna end up with something nice there. But, so we tore down their building and now we have rent. We moved them to Osceola. They're in the same building as the FSA and there's another government agency that's in. There's 3 government agencies in there now. And truly, it was a really good move for the Cooperative Extension Service. The FSA is a Farm Services Association, and they're the ones that implement all the government programs, subsidies and such. And the farmers are constantly trafficking in and out of that office because they have to financially, where they didn't necessarily have to make the effort to drive to the extension office. Well, now then, they traffic much more into the Cooperative Extension Service than they used to. So I think that's been money well spent in relocating them down into the Osceola office down there just They're on Highway 140. Other than that, that's about the only changes. They came straight across. Anybody have any questions or comments? Cool deal. What you got? What you got next?
Judge Ritchie.
Judge Ritchie. Still mad at Judge Ritchie because he became Judge Ritchie and instead of County Attorney Ritchie. I tell you what, couldn't respect a guy any more than I respect Circuit Judge Dan Ritchie. We are part of the 2nd Judicial District in the state circuit court system. In the 2nd Judicial District, there are 11 circuit judges currently, soon to be 12. There are 6 counties, 9 courthouses, and the expenditures for our 2nd Judicial District are split among the 9 courthouses based on caseload. Now, we have 2 of those courthouses here. Craighead has 2 of them. So they're based on caseload in each of those courthouses, and then it's divided out. It's done through the Jonesboro office. The primary budgets for each judge is done through the county government in the county in which they reside. Like Dan Ritchie's here, and Judge Wilson is here. The reason you won't see one for Judge Wilson this year is because he's retiring. He times out and will be replaced. And Judge Ritchie will be the only Mississippi County judge. But we budget his requested expenditures, as do the other judges in their respective counties, and they're all pulled together and then averaged out, and then we share expenses. So that's the way the 2nd Judicial works. Kelly, any of that wrong at all? Yeah. Basically, he's carried it across. We got a $100 increase.
Yeah, and he submitted these numbers to me so that, he had looked at this carefully and that's what he thinks he needs for next year. And there is a $100 increase, but it's due to a couple of accounts either being lowered and then 1 or 2 being increased, so. Looks like he increased small equipment and telephone, internet, but then he's lowered, I think he increased service contracts by $50, but then he, lowered a couple of ones.
It's always been Judge Ritchie's nature to be very conservative in his use of public monies. Any questions, guys? All right, with the senior citizens, we've got both the revenue and the expenditures. Let's look at that revenue budget because we really didn't have that. And I know Kelly has talked with our director, have you not, Amanda?
I did have a meeting with Amanda and Ms. Barbara last week. So we've gone over all of these numbers. They're in a strange situation because COVID has affected them greatly. So without knowing really what's going to happen next year, it was hard for them to budget. They are hoping that things return to normal or as normal as possible next year and that they can open like they have been in the past. But without knowing that, they really didn't know, what to do or any major changes to make at this time. So they've asked to pretty much carry over what we had for last year.
But in general, they've raised some of those federal funds expectations.
Well, now on the revenue, the revised budget amount, that's going to be, or the 2020 original amount, that's going to be at 90%. So the 2021 column.
Okay, is that 100?
It's at 100 until we can, so it is hard to compare. But all of those columns were the 2020 original amount at 100%.
Okay. So
The only
so you
thing
really
that-
did just carry it across,
I did carry it across. The only thing that is different is the monthly support from county general.
right? Second page.
That was increased in February. I left it alone for you guys to decide if that's what you wanna do, or if you wanna bring it back down to last year.
That's when we did the $42,000 for the van.
That doesn't include the $42,000. Now, actual dollars will include the 42,000, but this actual monthly support is last year and the beginning of this year, we started, and I wanna say, Peggy, it was like $19,850 a month. And then in February, you awarded them the 42,000 for the van and then an extra bump in their monthly support.
That's right.
And so it made it like $26,150.17 a month. So that projection is the 26,000 a month.
Well, looking at the revenue, let's go look at their expenditures and see how that's gonna stack up. Now, they did the same thing here, just carried it across pretty much, Kelly?
They did, the part, it's kind of hard to compare because it's the same thing. When you gave them that extra bump, I wanna say February or so, we increased their expenditure account. So that revised budget that you're looking at includes those increases. So when we started 2020, their budget was, cut. Do you remember the exact amount that they got? They got the 42,000 plus what? Do you remember what it was? And then we just divided it per month.
Remember, we did that out at the Burdette campus that day. I'd have to go back and look, Kelly, I don't remember off the top
Okay,
of
well,
my head.
whatever that amount was, I worked with them and we just took it and we, spread it out among some of the expense lines that have been cut way down, like food and gas. Those things that, when we made their budget for 2020, was really almost unrealistic for them to be able
They
to.
couldn't make it.
Right. But we only could do what we could do with the revenues that we could show. So when that was awarded to them, that extra, we did increase that several expense lines. So what you're looking at in the revised column includes that increase. And so that's pretty much carried over also. Another thing to point out for senior citizens, they have several part-time people who were at minimum wage. And the minimum wage is being increased in 2021 to $11. So even in the column with no raise, some of them are getting that dollar raise. And then on the column that does show the raise, everybody that's considered full-time out there was given the $1,000, but then the part-time people were given the 11. And I didn't increase it anymore until, you guys had a chance to look at it to see if I needed to or. But based on where we are right now, they have more expenses than revenue, so. We know that there's going to have to be some changes made,
They have more expenses than revenues?
yes. Because you're gonna have to take 10% off of,
Okay.
that final revenue number.
Yeah, you'll have to take 66,000 off that revenue number, and that'll bring them down to 620 or so. And 620 against 650 without the raises.
And they may not. If you take the expenditures through August, 378, and if you extend that number, the actual number out to the end of the year, it comes out about 567,000. So that may be less than what is projected on here. I don't know what they have.
Right, but they're doing a lot of different things this year, which I think she feels has
Since they're not
affected their
open.
bottom line.
Yeah, right.
And so they wanted to base it maybe not on what they end up at this year, but what they think it might be if they were open full-time. So,
Right.
and they also, wanted me to pass along that they would be glad to come whenever you want them to. There was gonna be a couple of dates that they were, out of town. They also wanted me to point out that they did have that a full-time janitor that they let go when they couldn't meet budget. Was it either last year or the year before? Last year, I think.
Last year.
So one of the issues that they've come across is with all of the new COVID requirements and the cleaning and things like that, they said if there was any way possible to get that janitor back full-time, that they would appreciate it. She did say that every once in a while they get a workforce employee that can come in and work, it might just be like a 3-month schedule or a 6-month appointment or whatever, but they would use those as much as they could. But she did want me to say that they were in need of someone there for more hours. And then she also wanted me to ask for consideration in getting them some type of vehicle. They did get the van, and she said that it was wonderful and they're so grateful, but they haven't even been able to use it because they're not allowed to take people to their appointments like they used to, or the people are scared to go out. I think it's kind of a combination of both. They're on a different schedule, and then the people are scared to get out. But they're needing, I guess, delivery vehicles.
I thought they'd probably be using it on the Meals on Wheels, but they're not.
They are using something for that, but I think the van they got was to carry people, Stephen probably.
To doctor appointments and such.
Yeah, so it wasn't like a Meals on Wheels van, right? It was just a transporting.
Yes.
It had a lift in it to
Yes.
transport wheelchairs and stuff like
So
that.
like whenever they go to the doctor's appointment.
And with Corona, they've allowed so much on televisits, but my understanding is those are going to expire. Some start expiring next month, some expire as late as January. So unless they renew the televisit thing, a lot of people have to start going back
They're
to
gonna
the
have to go back to a
doctor.
doctor. I would point out, when you go back and pull your Jessup, and we start looking at that, a large portion of those that are in that minimum category work here in the senior citizens. I mean, that's why we're having some of them, they're at minimum wage, and they're getting a raise just because minimum wage is going up. But that's some of the lowest. And once we get through all of this, and I hate to digress too much, but I'd really like for us to go back and maybe see those lower ones again and see if we can't make some additional adjustments and help. We can't do it all in one year. We did some the last time we gave a raise, and we might need to look at that again once we figure out kind of where we're at.
And there's one more thing, sorry.
No, that's why
One
we've
of
got
their
you.
biggest expenses is an audit that they have to have every year, or that they do every year. And it's the audit that they get through Thomas State Noble. But when we were meeting, she was explaining, she falls under the county, so they are part of the regular legislative audit that we do. They also participate in an audit that's through East Arkansas Area on Aging. And then they also do this Thomas State Noble audit. Well, that was her question, do we have to? So we asked the auditors, and he referred us to Association of Arkansas Counties, and we received notice this morning that they don't really think that they have to do that. So we're going to check with East Arkansas and see if there's any, regulations that maybe require that. But as of right now, that might be something that we can get rid of, and that's an $8,000 expense. So we're still checking on that.
I'd say as long as we're good with the state auditors and East Arkansas Area Agency on Aging.
I would think so.
I'm more worried about the state auditors than anybody. So. Good. Good.
Michael, on the revenue side,
Yes, ma'am.
you notice that they received $9,100 from the CARES Act in August. I don't know how much that they are going to get from the CARES Act, but they did receive that $9,100.
They didn't get it in 18 or 19.
No.
That's the COVID stuff, right?
Right.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, but I think they may have received some more in, this month. I'm not sure about that. So I don't know how much, and I don't know if they know how much they're going to get from that. So, you know, that's extra revenue for them also.
Well, guys, you know what we always do is we take these initial requests and funds and look at them and we pile them all up till we get to the end. And then we go back through and start refining some. Questions? Kelly's done a real good job of working with them. You know, we got them that $42,000 for the van last year because they were, but I would be surprised, but do you know, Kelly, how many vehicles they've got? They've got several.
They do, they're just older.
They're all
and,
older.
You know, they're older and, I think the repairs and stuff, that's one of the things they've been discussing for the last 2 or 3 years, I know, since I've been working on the budget with them, is that, you know, their, I guess, repair costs for auto just keeps increasing, and they're worried about the cars, how long they're gonna last, and so that's just a concern that they've had for the last few years, and so they're bringing it up again.
It's my lucky day.
Oh, it is. It's full of bills. Thank you.
So
Just
just saying, the van, that, we bought for them, they're not using it at all.
Well, they're not able to use it like they would have if we weren't dealing with COVID-19, is the way I understood it. They aren't taking as many people to the doctor as they normally
Yeah, I
would.
okay.
Yeah.
But hopefully that will,
They're
Cash.
hoping, yes, they're hoping. But she said that, you know, they hear from a lot of their seniors on a daily basis still, and a lot of them are just scared to get out. You know, they're in the really susceptible group of people, they're scared to get out. So they just don't know what to expect. Yeah.
You know, they probably need to be scared to get out still.
Yeah.
I know my own mother is a regular at the Manila Center. And, you know, that's a toll that we don't see in the news and stuff is my mom's loss of social contact it's very telling on the elderly, and it's very impactful. My brother came in last night and he even noted it. You know, he lives out of town, and it's there's a lot more to this than we see in the news sometime, and it's not always the deaths and the hospitalizations and the ventilators. That's not all the impact. It is the worst part of it, but it's not all of it, so. All right, that's what we've got for today to present to you. So the key points are what we've gone through here and the paperwork that you have in front of you, but also to please look at and just a cursory review at least of the Jessup program and put your thoughts into what type of raise versus bonus system that y'all feel like, and any points or aspects that we might want to consider in looking at those. We do our best, and we have always done our best to take care of our county employees that we possibly can. Let's plan right now. We're going to plan. We've asked the department heads and elected officials to try to have their budgets by the 1st of the month, which is Thursday. We haven't gotten them all by any means. We can't do them all in 1 week if we did, but there's a possibility that Kelly may not be able to be present. So my suggestion to Kelly prior to our opening up the meeting is that we see what we get these first few days of the week. We get to Thursday, see what we've got that we might can present, and then Kelly may know a little more concrete whether she has to be out of town Thursday or not. It's not a matter of her choice. And we'll let you know definite for sure. We're gonna plan right now today. Our next budget meeting will be next Monday at 1:30. With the caveat, we may have to move it.
I
So-
already have the budgets from the sheriff and Leslie Mason. So
You do have them?
I do have them, I just didn't have time to
Oh, excellent.
enter them
There you
and
go.
change all the salaries.
Told me you turned his in, but I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, he
Okay.
did, he got them to me early last week, but you know, Wednesday, we decided about the raise column, and
Mhm.
they have the most employees out of everybody, I just didn't have time to get that done for them.
Off the top of your head, how many employees in the sheriff's department? Jail and sheriff's department combined?
I think 20, no, I don't know off the top of my head.
It's okay.
No, I don't have, no.
I used to know too, and I forgot. It's quite a number.
They have quite a bit,
Yeah.
yeah. I wanna say 40, there's 48 slots in the sheriff's department now that we added that last SRO, 48, I
I
believe.
think we're right at 100
Yeah.
total, between the jail.
About half the
and the
employees.
sheriff's.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's probably one of the largest. Brings up the point, do we know anything on that third SRO request out of Rivercrest?
Sheriff talked to me a little bit this morning. He said that Ms. Bennett was not gonna come back and ask right now. She said that the entire school board did vote for it. She said that even if it was approved, they weren't gonna hire someone right now because about 20% of their students are on virtual learning. But that apparently doesn't seem to be going real well.
The virtual learning
Yeah.
portion?
So I think she's thinking they may have to bring them back in, and at that point, they would want one. But right now, they want the position approved, but they don't necessarily want to fill it. And that was.
Well, that's your
Sure.
committee, I'm just asking.
I know, and I told the sheriff, you know, someone from the school's gonna have to come talk to us about it. If he wants to bring it to school board.
If Miss Sally doesn't want to, maybe one of the board members would like to.
That's where I'm gonna leave it at. If they want to do that, get one of the school board members to come and ask for it. Like I said, she said right now they don't wanna fill it because, so it's not an urgent thing, because with 20% of their students out, they're down to about 800 students. Because they had 1,140 something students, I think, total in the school.
You know, as a pass-through issue, I don't see why the court should take issue with it if it doesn't cost us anything.
It's not gonna cost us anything. You know, the questions that were asked, I didn't understand some of them, but some of them I agree with.
We talked about cars just a second ago, so do we get, who pays for the car?
Which car?
The SRO car?
Most of the time, what we've done in the past is the sheriff takes one of his old cars and lets them use that. And that
So
way,
it is-
if there is a call in the county, then they have access to go make it.
So we do pay for the car and the insurance. What about gas?
Probably on
We
county too,
provide
I would
that.
about bet.
What generally happens is he supplies them with the car because he doesn't want to have to type a deputy to go to the school to pick someone up if they make an arrest. So the SRO has a car that he can transport them to the county.
Well,
And-
surely they're not
and they also
transporting that
use-
many kids to the jail. I mean,
Oh,
my gosh. Here, we'll give you a car for the, what, once every 2 year thing that
Well, but
happens?
here's the other thing, if they have an emergency, so they had a deputy in pursuit out on the interstate, got into a shootout, and he's right there at Rivercrest, those 3 SROs can go out to back him up.
So the school resource officer is,
He's an employee of the county.
and he is a deputy.
Yes, he is his direct line authority is to the sheriff. He works in the
Deputy
school.
assigned to that school.
But it's just like a deputy who's assigned to the courthouse. He may be responsible for making sure there's courthouse security, but he can be pulled in an emergency situation. They pay for a
I
deputy.
think that last one
and-
cost the school $54,000. The one we just approved in our last monthly
Mhm.
meeting. I think it cost Rivercrest $54,000.
That's about what, and that's a $32,000 salary.
The most interesting point, and honestly, I don't, if they're gonna pay for it, I've got no problem with it at all, but I just thought it was interesting point that Justice Norvell made, that Ms. Bennett asked us for $11,000 because they were broke, and then all of a sudden they've got $54,000 for a third
I
SRO.
mean, it's a statement, there's no doubt
That
about it.
that was my concern more than anything else.
Well, it doesn't look,
But hey, that's not on us.
yeah, that's not on us at all.
Well, but, I mean, it's not, but you can't not take that into consideration. I mean, it certainly warrants a question, like how, you know,
Well,
And just because-
that's just like the dumpsters. You know, the mayors get them and
But I tell you what, guys,
accept them.
these SROs are important, and if you don't believe it, just look in the last
Oh, you're-
2 weeks of newspapers, both at Blyville and at Gosnell, which neither one of those are county SROs, but are still SROs, and I don't know very much about either one of them, but I do know one of the school board members was with me when he found out about the Gosnell instance last week, and when he hung up the phone, he said, that SRO just paid his year's salary in one little instance.
Yeah. The thing of it is, and we've discussed this many times when I was at the police department, the SRO really shouldn't be there so much for the students. The school board and the school faculty should be taking care of them. Therefore, the parent that comes in and gets out of line and is getting loud, because if you assault a teacher, it's a felony. But when a kid shows up with his gun, oh yeah, he's there for that student. Because it's a felony to bring it on campus.
Yep.
Well, the configuration, this is just Neil Burge talking, but the configuration of your campus has a lot to do with how many SROs you're gonna need.
Yeah.
If you have an elementary campus and then you have a 7 through 12 campus or something, normally 2 SROs, you know, you got one here and one there, and that's adequate. I don't know about Rivercrest, I haven't seen the setup of their campus, they've done some new buildings, I don't know how it is.
Have no clue.
But I think the makeup of the campus is more important than the number of students you have.
Well, usually they segregate their,
Right.
and I hate to say segregate, but the students are like first through sixth or first through fourth.
They're segregated by age.
Yes,
That's right.
and generally there's a separation there. They may use the same cafeteria, but that SRO goes everywhere that they go. And just like Damon, the original one, he even goes to a lot of out-of-town games with their, he's at every one of their games, but he goes to some of the out-of-town. I noticed, I went to the Blyville game, the first one, and I think they were playing Osceola, and Osceola's SROs were up here. Which, you know, that's, I'll tell you right now, after working a few high school games, you could never have enough officers there.
Kelly, do you have anything else for us finance-wise, budget-wise today?
I don't think so. I can't think of, I mean, just when you know more about what you might wanna do with salaries or, you know, I'll just.
I think we've opened the discussion now, and, you know, I think we'll all be thinking about it more, and then you and I'll be working more this week towards Thursday, and then we'll make a final determination about having the meeting next Monday on Thursday, one way or the other. Peggy, you got anything? Revenue-wise, you got anything?
No, we still don't have anything else.
Question. We getting COVID money?
No, not yet.
But we are?
We will.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay.
There's gonna be a training session tomorrow, isn't it tomorrow, Kelly, in Little Rock? That I think Wayne is going to. I think the judge has appointed Wayne to go down and be in on that to see about how to track what we have spent, how to get our money back.
Okay. Okay. Collector, Miss Susan, you got anything?
Nothing.
Everything good?
It's good.
How's collections going on taxes?
Well, I thought we would have a lot of mail today, but we did not. So I imagine the first we will start to get really busy and then. Now, our office will be closed. Let's see, the last day of collections is the 15th. We'll collect through the 16th, which is Friday. Then our office will be closed October the 19th, 20th, and 21st to do our settlement, or, do all that stuff, get our books rolled over and printed and all that. So we will be closed that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 19th, 20th, 21st.
You'll actually be working, you'll just
Yeah, our
close
doors.
to the public.
We'll be there, but our doors will be closed.
Yeah.
So did you have more people pay online this year?
We've had a lot more pay online this year.
Okay, so that's worked out well.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Do they use their credit cards, I
guess?
guess?
Mhm. And another thing that Pulaski County has done, and if we were going to be at Burdette very long, I would like to try to do it Blytheville, but they have set up machines in INA, the company that does our credit card payments, has set up machines for them in different locations in Little Rock in that Pulaski County, that you can actually go to that machine and pay your taxes. It's a cash only machine. It's $3 a parcel. But their offices are all closed still, so.
Would it have to be a secure location? Like,
Yeah, they're usually like in Walmart or in the grocery stores or.
Use like an ATM machine.
Mhm.
Yeah, you would want to try to pick one of those up.
Yeah, it's 'cause somebody will try to rip it off.
Yeah.
have y'all got anything?
I'm not sure exactly how it works.
Okay.
but-
I just want to mention.
But that is a
the
nice
past,
idea.
because it's not the time to get into it. It was mentioned several months ago, maybe a year or so ago, that there's $6, $7, $8 million in outstanding fines that
Mhm.
on the county books.
Correct.
Jefferson County, which is Pine Bluff, I've been kind of following, they have contracted with a collection agency
Mhm.
at 30% to try to collect those. And some other counties are looking at that. We might want to look at that later when we finish the budget or something. It might be something, it's a no-lose deal as far as I'm concerned, because a lot of those fines are not going to be paid anyway. And the only ones you have to turn over are those that are, you can pick a date. Okay, it's over a year, 2 years, or whatever. So whatever we collect,
Something we didn't have.
it would just be in our favor. So I'd like to just put that in everybody's mind so we can talk about that later.
Absolutely.
I read a thing about Garland County doing that as well. They when everything got real slow with COVID, they started working on their outstanding fines, and I think they collected 8.
I think the legislature changed the rules or the
Yeah.
law a little bit or something to allow
I'll look
counties
that
to
up
do
and see
that.
what I.
The last meeting you had on that, the sheriff was supposed to be looking into collection agencies that did that.
Yeah.
Because they pretty much have to specialize in that.
Guys, we got a road and bridge committee meeting tomorrow. I won't be there, but maybe the rest of you can make it. Any other announcements from you, Cindy?
Nothing.
Guys, we'll call adjourn and see y'all next Monday, hopefully.
And I did mention to the judge about the budget, and he said he wanted to delay it for a week or so. He had a meeting or something, but I'll get back to
Well,
him this week.
now, we talked, me and Peggy and Kelly, have you talked to them in the last day or so?
No.
JT